Sophie, thank you. Good evening. Welcome to Monday's Look North. Our top story tonight. Police make a number of arrests after rioters target a hotel being used by asylum seekers in Rotherham. 12 officers were injured.
Some of the most vulnerable people in our society, 240 people living peacefully in a hotel, and they came down intent on violence to burn the hotel with those people inside, and I am appalled at that behaviour.
As the clear-up gets underway, we hear from local people about their views on what happened in Wath. And we'll ask what's being done to prevent further problems.
And we'll be at Benningborough Hall, finding out how this Mediterranean garden can thrive, even though it likes extreme sun, in a place that sees extreme amounts of rain.
And it's been another warm and humid day. We've all seen at least some sunshine. What does the rest of the week look like? Join me for that detailed forecast.
Hello, thanks for your company this evening. Police say violence at a Rotherham hotel that left 12 officers injured was a disgusting display of thuggery. A crowd of around 700 people gathered at the Holiday Inn Express in Manvers yesterday. Terrified hotel staff stacked furniture against a door to barricade themselves against rioters who had smashed their way into the building. About 240 asylum seekers who'd been staying at the hotel were moved overnight after the clashes. Our social affairs correspondent Emma Glasby has spent the day in Rotherham and joins us now. Emma.
Good evening. Well, there is still a fairly large police presence around the hotel here in Manvers, and investigation work has been taking place here all day. You might be able to see just behind me the remains of a burnt out bin, a bin that was set alight by the rioters, and the windows and doors that were smashed have this evening been boarded up. Now, the latest update we have from South Yorkshire Police is that 6 men have been arrested, 5 in Rotherham and 1 in Sheffield, and 1 man has been charged in connection with the disorder here and has appeared in court today. Now, South Yorkshire Police say this all started here at around 11:30 yesterday morning, when around 250 people turned up for a protest. But then later, around 500 more people turned up, and South Yorkshire Police say these were people holding far-right and anti-immigration views, and disorder broke out. Well, today, after the violence, came the clean-up and a very big police investigation. They came from early this morning, local people with sweeping brushes and bin bags, clearing up alongside council workers. Shocked by the violent scenes near their homes and workplaces in Rotherham, they wanted to do something positive. This was the scene here yesterday. A protest had been organised outside a hotel in Rotherham housing asylum seekers, but around 700 people turned up and it descended into violence. Fires were started, windows smashed, and police officers pelted with missiles. Police dogs were injured and bricks thrown at police horses. 12 officers were injured.
There was a particularly sickening moment when a wheelie bin was pushed against the hotel and set on fire, with the clear intent to cause serious harm to the residents and staff. It was known there were people residing and working in the hotel, but the mindless individuals responsible had absolutely no regard for their safety. It was ultimately a disgusting display of thuggery continuing well into the evening, with our policing operation only finishing around 5 a.m.
Crowds had chanted Yorkshire outside the hotel before a group managed to break into the building, but were then forced back. More than 200 asylum seekers had been staying at the hotel. They were moved out overnight. Staff were too upset to talk on camera, but told us they'd barricaded themselves into a back room as the violence erupted outside. The Defence Secretary, who's a local MP in South Yorkshire, also came to the scene today.
This was an area that was seized with shock and fear throughout yesterday. The staff and residents here barricaded in the hotel as people were breaking the windows, trying to set fire to the hotel. Local residents holed up in their homes or have to flee to in-laws as they saw marauding mobs, and finally for the police on the ground, on the front line, taking injuries and facing a level of violence they've not seen in South Yorkshire for many years, and doing it to protect us all.
As the police investigation work continued today, so did the clean-up.
Clearly it upset a lot of us. We didn't expect what happened yesterday to happen within this area. So it's just really nice to see all the community coming together. The little one was quite scared by it all. We could hear the helicopters going round last night, so it was just a bit also to give her a bit of calm and ease, that everything's calmed down, everything's come back to normal, and look at all these beautiful people that have come out really to come and tidy and help put things back together.
Some of those living next to the hotel were having to make repairs to their own properties today.
We've seen them starting throwing bricks, so I took the kids in, took my daughter inside, and the violence escalated further. And then round the corner there, they set fire to the unit, and we've got pet rabbits at the bottom of the garden, so she was getting concerned about them. When we came down to rescue the rabbits, that's when they started ripping all these fences apart and getting into next door's garden, so I took the kids away and evacuated the house.
South Yorkshire Police expects a significant increase in arrests over the next few days, and has warned, if you were there, we will find you and you will be held accountable. Well, joining me now outside the hotel in Manvers is the South Yorkshire Mayor, Oliver Coppard. We are now 24 hours on from the violence. What's your response to what we've seen?
Well, look, the violence that we saw yesterday evening was appalling. Every right-minded person in South Yorkshire, frankly every right-minded person across the country, saw that what was happening was violence perpetrated against 240 people living in this hotel, people coming down here to attack them and ultimately try and burn a hotel with them inside. It was appalling, and there is no excuse for it.
We have seen violence in other places across the country. How concerned are you right now for communities in South Yorkshire over the next few days, the next few weeks?
Yeah, look, of course, there are concerns about communities right across South Yorkshire, and people have been in touch with me throughout the day. And of course, yesterday we're meeting faith leaders tomorrow to talk to them about the concerns in their communities. Obviously, police have been out on the streets, not just in Wath, in Rotherham, but right across South Yorkshire, reassuring communities, and that is the right approach, because what people need now is reassurance that absolutely this is not going to happen again, and the police are absolutely going out and working with communities to make sure that they are talking to people about their concerns and addressing those concerns wherever they can.
How much of a role do you think social media played in all of this, in stirring up the disorder?
Well, look, there will be a time, I'm sure, for us to talk about social media, to talk about the policing of protest, indeed police resources. But right now, absolutely, I think we have to be saying still, the reason for this violence was violent people coming down here to be violent. They came down here to attack a hotel, attack the people in the hotel, and quite honestly attack this community. There are people around here. I was talking to someone just over my shoulder earlier today, lived here all his life. He's been playing cricket with the people that lived in this hotel not so long ago on the green behind us, and they attacked him too. They essentially attacked this community by being here, setting light to things, throwing rocks, breaking things, committing all sorts of violence against everyone that lives here, and it cannot stand. There is no excuse.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Well, one resident told us today that Sunday's violence brought back memories of far-right protests in Rotherham after a report 10 years ago into grooming gangs in the town. Mark Ansell has been getting more reaction in Rotherham today to what happened here yesterday.
Before the violent scenes erupted in Rotherham yesterday, a counter-protest took place. Emma from South Yorkshire Migration and Asylum Action Group was there. She says the asylum seekers inside the hotel would have been terrified, but were thankfully not physically harmed.
I think they're safe, which is the priority. I would imagine they are re-traumatised significantly. It's a direct attack on people who have come here because they've experienced torture, violence, intimidation, imprisonment, threats of death, war, poverty, extreme poverty.
There were mixed views in Rotherham today.
I think it's ridiculous. They should not be doing that. Totally against what Rotherham people are. I would have thought they were protesting like that. Protest, yeah, but not the violence, the mindless violence there was. Arson as well. Ridiculous.
How did it make you feel when you saw people throwing bricks and attacking the hotel that had asylum seekers inside?
That is really bad, really bad. They should get some sort of attention and punish them. Yeah.
But you can understand the animosity they have against what's happening with people coming in with no credentials, but they're getting homed, they're getting looked after, and it just doesn't seem right, because me myself, I am homeless, and I'm getting no help.
At Rotherham charity Abner Hack, they support minority women and girls.
To be in a building, to have that amount of police presence, to hear the chants that were happening, to see the missiles being thrown, those people would have feared for their lives. And so when we as black, brown people, and when you hear the chants, the Islamophobic chants, and you hear about the other accounts where people have been attacked, everybody within our communities has now got a level of fear.
For many, yesterday brought back painful memories of 10 years ago when far-right groups regularly protested through Rotherham after the child grooming scandal.
I just find it disturbing and very terrorising. I feel like it's a replay of what's happened in the past, and personally, being 21, of my own childhood, which is sad because by the time I thought I'm a young woman, this will all be done.
On Wednesday night, a prayer vigil for peace will take place at Rotherham Minster, bringing together a town hoping for no more mindless violence. Mark Ansell, BBC Look North, Rotherham.
Well, I've now been joined by a local councillor here in Rotherham, Taiba Yassin. I know that you were watching events unfold from home yesterday, you were watching on TV, on social media. What was your response to what you were seeing?
My response and the response of local communities is just desperately upset. The unfolding of the level of violence, the aggression, the criminality, and just seeing the police not having the full capacity to manage that size of crowd. You felt very helpless watching it all unfold.
So how much concern is there in communities at the moment, especially if people feel the police don't have the resources to deal with this?
Not only people feel scared, as in can they be protected, and why were we not prepared when we know this is a national movement that picked up momentum over the last few days? And we know, like, for example, the Home Office informed various agencies that be aware that the Holiday Inns are going to be targeted. So we were just seeing those poor officers just right behind me, and for them to be violently attacked in that way to get to the residents of the hotel, it just feels quite shocking and unbelievable.
Thank you very much for your time. Well, this is now a very fast-moving investigation for South Yorkshire Police. As we say, we know 6 men have been arrested, 1 man has appeared in court, but South Yorkshire Police say they expect that number to rise significantly over the coming days and weeks.
OK, Emma, live in Manvers, thank you very much for that update. Now, boats are finally floating back again in Hebden Bridge after more than 20 were left stranded last week. It's thought someone forcing open a gate caused water levels to fall. Now, a temporary dam has been installed, but the Rochdale Canal remains blocked, as Tom Ingle reports.
Last week, low and dry at Hebden Bridge. Monday morning, the life aquatic again. But while there is water back under these boaters' hulls, they won't be able to cruise very far along the Rochdale Canal. Just under a mile away at Mythenroyd, a temporary dam has been fitted across the navigation, which has at least restored the water, but means there's definitely no way through lock number 7, which needs repairs.
My tenant, who was on the boat at the time, the sofa bed slid down and she couldn't get it back. She couldn't use the fridge, and she was advised not to use the gas, it wasn't safe. The fact that the funding for CRT has been cut is causing problems up and down the canals, and the Rochdale suffers a lot.
The CRT is the Canal and River Trust, a charity responsible for the upkeep of the cut.
We needed repairs at lock 7. The lock had been leaking slightly, and the leak was then exacerbated by a boater forcing their way through the closed lock. And again, when we padlocked, the padlocks and paddles were forced open, which caused the pound to drain. We hope that it should all be fixed by Friday this week.
It can be bad for a boat's structure to be stranded for too long. All being well, not much more water will flow under bridges before life here will be a pleasure cruise once again, rather than a muddy mess. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Hebden Bridge.
Thanks, Tom. Now, finally tonight, a new Mediterranean-inspired gardens opened at Benningborough Hall near York, and doesn't it look absolutely fantastic? It's been specifically designed to suit the changing climate and extreme weather we've been having. So there are around 4,000 plants in the garden, and our Hannah Gray went for a wander around.
Now, you might think that you found us in the Mediterranean, but no, we are right here in Yorkshire. This is Benningborough Hall's brand new garden, and it was designed by Andy Sturgeon to look just like a Mediterranean hillside. Now, of course, that means plants that like drought conditions. So it's been designed very cleverly to have a huge drainage system underneath that takes all the water into a ginormous tank to make sure that these plants can live here long term without being watered. Earlier, I spoke to the head gardener, Sam.
The irony of building a Mediterranean-style garden in one of the wettest winters and springs hasn't been lost on the team here by any means. But it really helped us in one sort of way, because the plants were going in slightly wetter soil so they could get their roots out and get going. So from that point of view, it's been really nice. It did put a few challenges in place for getting certain things into the gardens, but we did really well and got past it.
So we've been asking the visitors what they make of it.
It's just a really different garden for National Trust. They're not usually, you know, it's like Mediterranean gardens. They're just usually your kitchen gardens, aren't they? And
we travelled from Doncaster, and it's really nice. It's really beautiful, very relaxing.
Now, this space has been completely transformed. Before, it was predominantly just grass. Now there are 4,000 different plants here, and many of them attract pollinators. So, of course, I asked the National Trust how much did it cost, and they wouldn't tell me. But what they did say is that it's all thanks to the money left from a Mr. Ian Rederhoff in his will. And thanks to him, they'll be able to create future exciting projects like this one. Hannah Gray, BBC Look North, Benningborough Hall.
Well, I think Hannah had the job of the day there. I wouldn't have minded doing that. It looked like a lovely day for a Mediterranean garden stroll, Paul.
Fantastic. 25 degrees today, so she's been very lucky. Leads us nicely onto this wildflower meadow in Ripon. That's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Thanks to Susie for sending that in. And this was a rather cloudy looking Burnsill, one of a beautiful part of the Yorkshire Dales there with the River Wharf. There you can see curling round. So if you've got any pictures you want to get on the television, send them to me. The addresses are on your screen right now, and we'll try and put some of them on the TV tomorrow evening. As for the forecast tomorrow, it's not looking too bad. Most of us will be dry, a little bit fresher, not quite the 25 degrees we've had today, more like 21 or 22, but very pleasant nonetheless. The fresher weather behind this cold front. And then on Wednesday, low pressure up to the northwest. We should be mostly dry. We'll keep an eye on this feature on Thursday that could well bring some rain up from the southwest during the second half of the day. Now, although we've had a lot of cloud around today, that sunshine has lifted temperatures up to 25 degrees, and we keep that warmth through this evening. There is going to be a lot of cloud at times, trapping the warmth, so a very warm and humid night. There's that cold front bringing some patchy rain in from the southwest. Could be 1 or 2 thunderstorms over the Pennines, more especially eastern areas later on tonight. And there's confirmation of a warm and humid night, 16 or 17 degrees the low. So tomorrow's high water times then, Scarborough 6:07, Bridlington at 6:28. Now much of Yorkshire in the morning will be dry and bright, certainly western areas. Still a risk of the odd thunderstorm further east, soon moving into the North Sea. And then it looks very nice indeed. The odd shower possible, but most of us will be dry and bright. There'll be plenty of sunshine around and temperatures very pleasant indeed. We're looking at highs around 21, possibly 22 degrees. Doncaster, Finningley, that's 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And we carry that fine weather through Tuesday evening, a lovely evening to come. Further ahead then, Wednesday, the odd shower, otherwise it's dry with some sunshine. Thursday, a fine start, some patchy rain later, and then into the weekend, potentially turning a bit more unsettled. That is the forecast.
Thank you, Paul. August hasn't got off to a bad start, really, has it?
Not really, no.
Hope it keeps on. That's as far as we go for now. Paul and myself will be back again at 10:30, but from all the team on the 18:30 programme, enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. Good night.